So the breaking news to maybe start this video is really to share and officially put out there that President Joe Biden has now officially signed and approved of the $1.7 trillion stimulus spending bill that we've been spending the last couple of days talking about, but hasn't really officially announced. The big background story to what really ended up happening is that this bill was approved inside of the House at a vote of 225 to 201, and then it was approved inside the Senate at a vote of 68 to 29, and then it went on to President Joe Biden's desk where it was officially now approved in its entirety. Now within this bill, what's really cool is that there are a lot of different parts to be able to share. So in today's episode, what I really want to talk about is what's actually physically inside of this bill, its details. So this video is definitely going to be relevant if you are someone that is in the military, because there's a lot of military related stuff. It's definitely important if you're interested in learning about other areas that this bill is going to apply to us. And also if you're interested in potentially getting money in our podcast, which is probably the thing that most of us care about, this video is going to cover it. So we're going to get right to it, but as always, real fast, before we begin, if you guys enjoy videos like this, remember to smash the like button, or you can watch to the end to decide. Consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and as always, feel free to comment any questions, maybe personal thoughts about what you think about this bill by the very end of this video. So with that being said, let's get this video rolling. So we're going to run through all of the details, breaking this bill part by part, but really the big idea is that the total package is currently worth about $1.7 trillion. Now within this $1.7 trillion, how they're actually spending this particular bill is that about $858 billion is really dedicated to defense, so everything related to the military. Then you have about a certain amount of money that's actually dedicated to foreign affairs. So this is basically the part about money that's going out to Ukraine, potentially to Taiwan. We already talked about it. We're going to go into even greater detail in today's video, but that's the big thing to know. And then the rest of the money, specifically approximately about $772.5 billion, is going to be dedicated to what we care the most about, which is going to be domestic aid. So this is the money that actually is meant to support our own country. Because remember, there's money for the military, there's money for foreign affairs, so foreign countries, and then now there's money also, of course, for us. And this is the part that I think most of us care the most about. Now, within the military, what's really cool is that they're going to be spending about $858 billion off of the military. This is really meant to apply and benefit to anyone that has anything to do with the military. If you are currently in the military, it's going to help to strengthen the programs within the military. It's going to make the military more powerful, give it more money, more equipment, more things to work with, more resources, everything in that particular world. But it also is going to benefit because if you are someone that's collecting a veteran's paycheck or a paycheck for something related to the military, it means that you're going to potentially be able to receive more money. This is also going to mean that because they have more money to work with, potentially now other kinds of people that do stuff, maybe even if they're not in the military, but if they do stuff related to the military, they're going to potentially be able to get more money as well. So who are these examples of these people? Are such as like politicians, officers, but civilian officers. A lot of these people are going to potentially receive now more money under this particular program, which I think is pretty cool. Now, the next part of this particular package is going to be dedicated to everything related to foreign aid. So this is now the money that's going out to Ukraine, going out to potentially Taiwan. The big details is that, as you guys mentioned, as we mentioned as a quick recap, is that in one of the last episodes, we talked a little bit about how there was money set aside that's going to the Ukraine in order to help them with their war efforts. But there's also some money that's set aside as a bit of like an insurance deposit to potentially be sent out to Taiwan. This is the money that Taiwan is not necessarily going to receive, but it's really a little bit as like an emergency savings amount of money, where if something happened to Taiwan, that money is going to be released and then Taiwan will receive that aid. But if nothing happens happens to Taiwan, if they're able to continue living on peacefully, if China does not come over, anything like that happens, and they're able to maintain the peace, then the money is really just going to sit there as an emergency deposit for if something was to happen. But the big idea is that in Ukraine, money is definitely going to be sent to Ukraine. Money to help them with their soldiers, their military, their supplies, weapons, tanks, everything related to that particular world. Now, the big significance of the foreign aid side, and this is the part that we have not mentioned, so this is the brand new information, is really about why they're currently doing this. And it's really because, and feel free to share your particular opinions, because there's a lot of mixed opinions whether you support this or don't support this, even inside of Congress. There's a reason why there's still a population of people that voted against this bill, even if this bill ended up approved within the Congress itself. And the big idea is that right now, President Joe Biden's focus is that he wants to try to maintain peace in the world. So the big idea is that although there is a war going on there right now, his motivation is that he believes that by approving of this bill and sending money, it's going to help prevent Ukraine from falling even greater inside of their country. And they're afraid that if this ends up happening, it might bring about even more wars and more violence. And so that's his biggest goal by doing this. Obviously, there's another side of the argument that basically is a lot of people that are now preaching about why we should really just focus on our country. That's why feel free to share your particular opinions. But the other big significance really is that, interestingly, President Biden did also recently go to meet up with Zelensky inside of Ukraine, although they met outside of Ukraine, but from Ukraine. And the big idea is that they're talking about a lot of their plans, which is one of the reasons that motivated him to approve the aid inside. I do know, however, is that if you're someone that doesn't support this aid, McCarthy, who is inside of the House, did also recently announce that now that he's potentially going to gain a lot more power inside, that he did announce, however, that this is going to be the last package of aid being sent to Ukraine. Whether this ends up becoming true, that's to be determined, because we don't know what they're going to actually officially do, but that's his announcement. In other words, is that there's a lot of money going to Ukraine, but this is going to potentially be the last time they're going to be sending money over, according to what McCarthy wants inside of just what he plans or his agenda in general for our country. And then the last and probably the most exciting, or certainly the part that we care the most about when it comes to what's inside of this package, is going to be the side related to the domestic aid. So in other words, the money that's going to be applying to our own country. So how this particularly works is that they're going to be taking about $772.5 billion, which is the domestic part of the aid. And what they're going to be doing is using it in order to fund a lot of different kinds of programs. This includes programs such as, because of the inflation situation, so the COLA, cost of living adjustment, but it's also going to bring a lot of money to other social programs. What are some examples of this? Is, for example, like an extra $500 to Pell Grant for college students. So if you happen to be a student, they're going to be increasing the amount of scholarship or financial aid that many students will now potentially be able to receive. Additionally, there's going to be an extra 22% increase on veterans medical care. So there's definitely a lot of programs related to healthcare inside of this bill. There's going to be $3.7 billion to farmers and ranchers. So this is really to help them in the case of some natural disaster. If something were to happen to our crops, our farms, this is the money that's going to help them. And this is the money that's going to keep our food supply running as healthy as we possibly can. And then there's also going to be a lot of money that's pretty much going to be spent on the other popular social programs, or that they're potentially going to be spending, in the sense that the reason we say potentially is because it's money that they want to improve social programs, but they haven't officially stamped it. So in other words, is that they have plans to do it, but they don't know if they're actually going to do it. And this would be basically programs that we care about, such as like Social Security, SSI, SSDI, all those kinds of government programs that we've been going on and basically been talking for the last who knows how long about. These are the programs that they're going to potentially receive even more money if they end up carrying through with their plans, because again, the money's already been approved. And then the last part really is just a lot of miscellaneous things that they really want to take care of. So for example, like helping to fund their agenda with like climate, energy, resources, everything related to that world. There is also going to be a lot of the money that's going to be used to just fund the actual government in general, to give them money to be able to do these programs, but also to be able to actually physically continue running in general. I believe that a lot of this money, they expect that this is going to fund the government until about September of 2023. So it's definitely one of the largest spending bills that they have, because this is going to extend the government by about 9 months. Typically in the past, it's, they've approved spending bills that have only lasted for just a couple of months. This bill is going to last about 9 months and is also including a lot of the other stuff that we've just mentioned, again, such as foreign aid, domestic aid, military spending, and then those miscellaneous tasks. But of course, how they end up ultimately spending, this is the part that we really just have to wait and see, because all we know right now is basically the plans and then certain details that they know are officially coming, but then they just don't know what's actually physically going to come, and that's the stuff that we're waiting for. But of course, what actually ends up happening, we're gonna have to find out in one of the future episodes of The Kevin Show. So with that being said, that's pretty much what I really wanted to cover in today's video. So if you guys found that insightful, maybe consider smashing the like button if you guys, or feel free to leave a comment, suggestions, or honestly just really anything. It is always great to hear from you guys. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again, and also have a great start to this new year, because if you're watching this on release day, it is still around Happy New Year. So thank you guys so much again.